Have y'all been hearing the story around this Pilates girl where she's? Oh my God, this story has been burning me. You know what? I'm gonna let y'all listen to it, bro. I'm gonna let y'all listen to it because I remember when I heard it, I didn't recognize how ridiculous that was. I was thinking to myself, I was like, "There's no way she wouldn't just said this." But hold on, this is the clip. This is the clip. Boom. Okay, y'all, listen to this. Listen to this. Listen to this. Listen to this.
To whiteness. This is going to be an extremely hot take for my Pilates girls. I've seen a lot of commentary surrounding Pilates and proximity to whiteness, as well as disrupting the Pilates space in order to create more diversity and inclusivity. As someone whose entire purpose of my business, my brand goals is about providing accessible and affordable Pilates to a diverse demographic of women. That is what I started all of this on, so let's talk about it. What are some words that you think about when you think of like a really nice designer brand? I think of legacy, think about craftsmanship. I know a lot of the products are probably like handmade. People check them over and over again to make sure the quality is there, okay? The design is there, and that's why we pay top dollar, we pay our top coins for these designer items, right? Like you would never walk into Bottega and be like, where's the diversity? Where's the accessibility? Babe, there is no accessibility. This is Bottega, okay? I want you to think the same way about Pilates. And I know a lot of us who've just gotten into this, or maybe we're new instructors, we haven't been trained. Pilates is a legacy, okay? People have worked generations to preserve this method of exercise. To even just training an instructor classically through a good program takes 500 hours minimum, okay? Nothing about Pilates is giving cheap. That's why things like Legree and Solid Core are more successful, right? They took away a little bit of the craftsmanship of the reformer and turned it into a megaformer. Now hire a little bit less experience in training out of instructors. That's okay because now more people can do it, all right? And just to be clear, I am all for the accessibility of Pilates. But I do want some of the Pilates newbies to think a little bit more critically before we come on here talking about, oh, okay.
Oh, that's bad. You know when you're watching somebody cancel themselves and you're like, no, you don't need to say that. I don't think you know what you're saying. You're so in the bag. I feel like this is one of those moments because honestly, I feel like he wasn't even talking about the exercise at that point. Because if you're sitting here and saying that, oh no, this exercise is so unique and it's so difficult that you need to have so much effort that's putting in to be able to learn this craftsmanship, and you need to be able to train and on and on and on. And then comparing it to Bottega, and compared it to fashion to begin with, because it's like, okay, first of all, physical appearance and fitness should not be a criteria that needs to be met to be able to engage in athletic movements. And not to mention, Pilates specifically is frustrating because of it doesn't even raise your heart rate enough to be even like really get into the difficult aspects of it, right? I've done Pilates for a bit, right? And as I'm watching it, I'm sitting back and recognizing that this seems to be more of a status symbol than anything else. And to be actively pushing back against trying to make it more inclusive for people to learn how to move their bodies, because guess what? The whole purpose of Pilates is to be able to do fine movements that are able to push you towards the rest of your life, being able to stay active and moving. That's what Joseph created the Pilates to be doing in the first place. And now to sit here and try to make it look as if it's like this status symbol that's supposed to set yourself up to be like this very classic and chic looking lady that's been like, oh yeah, no, I've been working on my body ever since all the time, and you could tell that I'm fit because I do Pilates. I feel like that just destroys the message and the purpose of Pilates to begin with. And what's frustrating, because it feels like every time there is a new exercise, it comes with this whole fad of people being like, oh yeah, no, this is the way you're supposed to do it. Oh yeah, no, this is for the elegant, this is for the chic, these are for the people that like truly understand what's going on. But it's just another way of trying to exclude others and trying to segregate people from the haves and the have-nots, because Pilates were literally made for inmates to be able to do it and stay active. But some way, somehow, it's turned into $180 to $300 a month of exercise. What are we doing for 4 classes? Once a week for $180 to $300 in a month? What's going on? What are we doing? And it gets to the point where you have to buy even the greater. You buy the even greater membership to even be able to break a sweat. And it's like, what is the point? Why are you why are you doing this? Why have we made exercising such a luxury that you need to be able to be making $95,000 to $200,000 to be able to be like, oh yeah, you know what? I will do this. I will join, when you could do the exact same thing at home on YouTube. Where is it Pilates by Rachel? There's a couple Pilates folks that are on YouTube that I really like. But beyond the point, I feel like it hits on this core tenet of the idea that people are actively using physical exercise. I feel like it hits on this core idea that people are able to use physical appearance and physical exercise as a way to show status. And that is very upsetting, because they're connecting the exercise aspect to the health aspect of it all. And when you do that, you tend to throw so many people under the bus. And not to mention trying to segregate themselves away from the health that people need to be able to live a fully nourished and fully healthy life. And not even to mention, like I was saying earlier, when it comes to this fad nature that comes from all these new exercises that come around, if it's not Pilates, last year I think it was like yoga, the year before that everyone started like biking or something of that nature. It's always something new to distinguish yourself from the other. And it's frustrating, especially when it comes to the history of Pilates, right? So to start it off, Pilates came from the German physical trainer, Joseph Pilates. Keep in mind, he was a sick man with, rheumatic fever, asthma, rickets, and a whole bunch of other stuff that was making it difficult for him to exercise. And his mother being a naturopath, I wonder what that's from. So they already have like a certain background to be able to like set themselves up, because if he was chronically sick, and if you are chronically sick, it is difficult for you to lift weights, for you to go sprinting, for you to go play sports like basketball or football or things of that nature. And if you're not able to stay in shape and actually get a chance to move your body, that shows up in so many other aspects of your life, especially in the context of like mental health and social health and things of that nature. And then not even to notice that Pilates, wow. He said that Pilates was inspired by, and the fact that people are actively trying to exclude people is weird, because of his whole point was to be able to use it during, was when he was using the inspiration that came from World War I while he was being held in Nakale. Nakale internment camp in Isles of Man. Wow, interesting. And he centered a lot of his exercise from the context of the mind body. We're using intentional mind movement and using intentional mind thinking to move their body, where, for example, isolating the muscle group or like actively doing something like engaging the core while you're moving your arm up, something like that. It's more difficult to explain, but simple. Let's just simplify it that way. And it shows people's lack of understanding, where they go out of their way to try and exclusify an idea that was supposed to be made for everybody. And like I was saying earlier, the idea of weaponizing physical appearance and their proximity for health, people don't recognize that people have biases no matter what type of thing that they're sitting by. And they also forget the idea that everything is inherently political, from the idea of why is there no trees that are planted in downtown Dallas, or to the idea of, I don't know, why some communities only have one grocery store in a 50-mile radius. That's also political. But then also another thing that's people tend to forget, the way that you look, the way that you present yourself into every room that you walk into is inherently political. It comes from a certain place that people will unknowingly or knowingly, some people have an explicit bias in the context of that, where they are putting upon their own biases upon you based off the way that you look, the way that you move, the way that you are able to embrace an environment. For example, if you're skinny, if you're fat, if you're tall, if you're short, if you're buff, if you're a twig, it does not matter. There is an inherent bias and inherent ideas that people naturally form anytime that they see your face inside a room. And that is a big thing, because of it's difficult to be able to catch people out when they are having these negative thought processes of another person that they honestly just do not understand. For example, one of the things that like truly upset me, especially when it comes to like physical fitness, I've heard the amount of people that would go out of their way to tell people like, oh, you are unfit. You are unhealthy based off of the way they look, especially if they're more of on the bigger side of weight wise. Which is weird, because people don't recognize what it truly means to have weight and what is the context of what people actually weigh and why they weigh those type of things, and what is their basis weight level that they need to be able to actively live a comfortable and good life, right? And I've always hated the idea where people would look at someone and be like, well, I don't think you're in shape. I think you need to change this and lose this, and on and on and on and on. Because one of the things I've always hated, I would always hear people would look at someone to be like, no, you can't run a marathon. Like, they would out of nowhere, they would tell people that, especially when they would bring it up, be like, yeah, I'm running a marathon. They'd be like, no, I don't think you got that in you. I think you are not like fit enough to run an 8-minute mile. And they're basing it basics off of the way that they are looking. And that is so frustrating, because the way that you look is such a, I don't want to call it a non-factor, but there's so much more that goes into your physical fitness levels than what you just base look like. But yeah, thanks for watching. Make sure you leave a like, comment, subscribe.